Welcome to Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. Today we're going to talk about my May NetGalley challenge, my NetGalley catch-up challenge. And there were 5 prompts, and in total I knocked 18 NetGalley arcs off of my NetGalley list. Would have been a little more successful had I not added some books, but that's okay. I will get them all knocked off. So, for my 5 prompts, the first prompt was the oldest book on your NetGalley arc. For me, that was Identity by Nora Roberts. I read this in the beginning of the month. I will link that video where I talked about it down below in the description. This was romantic suspense. It was okay. It wasn't a 5-star read for me. It let itself down with gratuitous sex, and it didn't add to the story. In fact, it took away from the story for me. It just didn't need to be there. Second book was a book in your favorite genre. Currently, I think my favorite genre is Christian suspense. And so that was Break of Day by Colleen Coble. It is the 3rd book in the Annie Peterson trilogy. I will link the video where I talk about the entire trilogy together. I loved this book. It was exactly what I needed. It was the perfect wrap up for the previous 2 books. And these are books you do need to read in order because they are very much... It is a continuing story. You cannot just pick up book 3 and then go back and pick up the first 2 books. Prompt number 3. Book you were most excited for when you got approved for it. For me, that was Fairy Bargains of Prospect Hill by Rowena Miller. This was a DNF for me. I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't like the setting. I didn't like any part of this book. It just did not work for me. Prompt number 4. Your current most anticipated read. This was The Lifeboat Sisters by Tilly Tennant. It was a DNF for me. It was my first ever DNF from Tilly Tennant. I was bored. I didn't care about the characters. I was surprised by the swearing. This book was an absolute miss for me on every level. And I was so sad that it was just a complete miss for me. Last prompt on the catch-up challenge was a new to you author. For me, that was Catherine Center, and the book was Hello Stranger. I loved this book. I loved everything about this book, and I'm surprised I did. It was funny and sweet, and there was character growth, and there was a wee bit of character anxiety, but she worked herself through it, and worked herself through it well. So it didn't bother me. I want to read more from Catherine Center. I loved this book. It was charming and enjoyable and just wonderful. So, what other NetGalley books did I knock off this month? I knocked off Daughter of Destiny by Lizzie Lane. And the books 2 and 3 in that series, I will put pictures of all 3 books right here. I DNF this entire series. It is a re-release under different names and a different author, and I will link the video down below where I talk about why I DNF this one. Did not enjoy it at all. Imagine the Making by Jen Toronto. I love this book. I love this book so much. It was fun. It was sweet. It's Christian romance. It's historical. It's funny. It's got great characters. It's got great kid characters. It was, I cannot wait to read more from her. And then He Should Have Told the Bees by Amanda Cox. Another DNF. another miss, another angst-riddled mess of a story that had no enjoyment and no fun and no characters. I kept telling the characters in the book to suck it up, Buttercup, and move on. So, that was a DNF for me. I also read Esme Calhill Fails Spectacularly by Marie Bostwick. I will link that video down below. That I know for sure is reviewed on my blog, which is also down below. I love this book. I love the description of quiet fiction. I love the character that gets knocked down in life and she pulls herself back up and she figures out what she really wants to do with her life. I love Marie Bostwick's writing. It is secular fiction, but it is completely clean. It is completely wonderful, and everyone needs to go read Marie Bostwick. I loved this book. These are all DNFs. Doomed by Blooms by Anna St. John. Again, just ugh. The Will of the Many by James Islington. I wanted to like this book. I really, really did. I really, really didn't. It's fantasy. It's trying to emulate Roman structure, and it was just too grimdark and heavy, and I couldn't. Then I DNF'd 2 books by Evie Hunter, A Contest to Kill For, and I can't remember the name of the second book. I will put them both right here. One was a Kindle Unlimited read, and the other one was the NetGalley arc. The second book is the NetGalley arc. I will put the NetGalley. Again, just overly young character who... the whole premise was just nonsense and silly, and I couldn't get into it, and who cares about a big black cat, and it was a no. Let's see. Next up. No, I already talked about those. Talked about that. Voice of the Ancient by Connie Lynn Cassette. I will link the video down below where I talk about this book. This is biblical fiction. It is only my 3rd biblical fiction book that I can ever remember reading. The first quarter of this book, I was frustrated with myself, not the author. It spurred me to buy several books, which you will see in my May 2023 book haul, which may or may not be out when this video releases. If it is, I will leave a link down below. If not, it's in my book haul playlist. I highly recommend this book. It is the first in the King's Men series. It does draw upon characters in her Covenant House series duology. I have not read that. You do not need to read those 2 books to enjoy this book to its fullest. I will, however, go back and be reading those books. And let's see if there's any more NetGalley books. Yep. The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley by Courtney Walsh. DNF that book. Again, angsty protagonist, unsure of herself, and just couldn't relate. Moved on. Practice Makes Perfect, Sarah Adams. Same exact problem. I will link the video down below where I talk about these books and why they got DNF'd. The Wagging Tail's Dog Home by Sarah Hope. Again. And I read much more of this book than the previous 2 I just talked about. I do not understand the trend of wishy-washy, indecisive characters who just can't move forward in life. And that is all of my NetGalley arcs as of the time I film this. I don't think in the couple of remaining days in May I will have finished another NetGalley arc. But I read 18 NetGalley arcs, or DNF them, in the month of May. I am happy with those numbers. I need to read more, but that is a very good start. How did your NetGalley catch-up challenge go? Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.